Hi there, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Another busy one. There is a big profile of Bill Burr in the New Yorker under the headline, Bill Burr does not want to talk about politics, or does he? I've shared the link in the Facebook group, Daily Comedy News Podcast Group. The link is paywall, but if you know your way around the internet, you can probably figure that out. Burr told the New Yorker, in my business, you can lose your way. You know, people blow smoke up your ass. You can start to believe it. Start carrying yourself a different way. One of my favorite things to watch is when even your circle of friends becomes a career move. You and I are cool, and then I get an inch ahead of you, and then I'm looking for the inch ahead of you friends. This business is brutal. When nobody knows who you are, you have this loneliness laying in bed going, oh my God, am I the guy who doesn't make it? Then you do get somewhere, and then you have to learn how to handle that. And I find the way to handle it is to disengage with it. I try as much as I could do to just do what I always did. And I find if you act normal, people act normal. It's the law of attraction. If you show up with 3 SUVs, people want to see who it is. Yeah, I always found that on the other side, you know, as somebody running radio stations or being a suit, anytime I worked with somebody in entertainment, act normal, and they act normal back. I mean, there are people in the industry, we used to call them star effers, who would be like, oh, Bill Burr, can I get a selfie? And like, they'd make up some crap that it was like, you know, hey, can I get a picture? And I'm going to sell it on eBay and raise money for charity. And it was just about like, I don't know, collecting a portfolio. I very rarely took pictures with anybody back in the day. It's like Bill said, just act normal. Burr said, I consider what I do to be a job, and my idea of what the purpose of the job is has changed over the year. My thought now, I look at it like somebody had a tough week or somebody had a great week and they had an all right week. It's my job, no matter what kind of week you had, to make either you forget about it or make it a better week because you're laughing for an hour. My job is to make fun of things. And one of the things I'm most proud of is the people on the right think I'm a libtard and my wife writes my jokes, and the people on the left think I'm a Trumper. And for that reason, when I go to a red state, I go extra hard making fun of the red guys. When I go to a blue state, I just go off on liberals because selfishly it's a fun thing to do. But I also say if I'm in a red state, I'm making fun of red people, and then I hear the blue people go, woo, then I go after them. More from that article tomorrow. Also, big article week this week. The New York Times, under the headline, Is This Late Night TV's Last Gasp? The focus here, John Mulaney, and by the time we get to the end of this article, very interesting. Mulaney describes his weekly Netflix show as a throwback in some ways. It's almost like the way you might remember a bunch of shows from the past, but it's not exactly what they were like. No element is new, but the way they're being laid out might feel a little bit. We learned more about the origin of the show. You may recall during the Netflix's A Joke Comedy Festival last May, they asked John to host the show. Mulaney said it was originally envisioned as a show that would be a bit like MTV, where the host would serve as a VJ, introducing one comic and then the next. Mulaney decided he could host it himself, and before long, the concept started to morph into the current show. Mulaney explained, then it became like, well, people can come out and I'll talk to them and then they'll sit there. Then I'm interviewing people and we're doing bits. Like, we couldn't have backed into it in a more convoluted way. I was like, what kind of show do I want to watch? And it is not a topical, can you believe, socio-political story of the day show, because that ground is well covered by great people. John Oliver, Jon Stewart, Daily Show, etc. Now, here's where it really caught my eye. Robbie Praw, who is Netflix's VP of stand-up and comedy, said that Netflix had not initially been looking or aspiring to do another talk show, but they were interested in being in the John Mulaney business because John is so singular. We'll come back to Praw in a second. The Times article quotes Jim Bell, former showrunner for The Tonight Show. Mr. Bell said, of all the legacy broadcast day parts, morning shows, evening news, late night might be the first one headed for the wood chipper. It's expensive to make, tough to monetize, and no longer appointment viewing. It's still got cultural juice, but from a business standpoint, it's the most vulnerable. Some stats from the Times. As recently as 2018, the 5 broadcast network late-night shows, Colbert, Fallon, Kimmel, Corden, and Seth, drew in around $439 million in advertising, according to Guideline, an advertising data firm. By 2022, that $439 had become $277 million. Guideline said last year it was down to 220, so that's half in 5 years with COVID in the middle there. Now, let's pay a lot of attention here because this echoes something that I have been saying. The Times writes, it's not clear how the show is performing, Mulaney's show, but critical attention has been more muted this season. The first episode appeared in Netflix's daily 10 most watched TV series in the U.S., but the show has not returned in the subsequent 7 weeks. That's what Johnny Mac has been saying. Now, listen to this. Robbie Praw said that Netflix was not prepared to announce anything yet about a potential third season. Now, that caught my eye because I was like, But didn't they announce that this was a 2-season pickup? And I went and looked that up, and yep, Deadline had reported Mulaney received a 2-season order from Netflix, which greenlit the show last year. So were they now like, maybe not? Robbie Praw is quoted as saying, every show we've ever done, we want more people to watch. So it sounds like Netflix is a little iffy here, and they do tend to cancel things. And if it went from, being in the top 10 to not being in the top 10, maybe they sense that there's no buzz on this thing. I thought it was misproduced. They finally produced it correctly the week Letterman was on and let Letterman have space to himself and brought out the guests one person at a time. But the uncontrolled chaos that John went for, I don't think it worked, which is a shame because I really liked the LA series last year. All right, more from that Nate Bargatze article in Esquire, a major profile on Nate. His book came out yesterday. We pick up where Nate hosted SNL for the first time, and Esquire writes one of the top searches on Google that week was, who is Nate Bargatze? Nate explains, I knew I had to destroy in the monologue. I knew it was a welcoming a hello. Jimmy Fallon apparently is the one who pitched Nate to Lorne Michaels. Fallon telling Michaels, I think he's the guy. I know he's kind of an unknown, but I'm telling you, he will score. Nate then talks about doing politics in his act or not doing politics. If I want to give you my opinion on who I voted for, who's that for? It's for me, really, because I want you to know that I'm smart. I don't think it's really helping an audience. You don't think they know who to vote for? They're living life. Once you run out of celebrities' opinions on politics, maybe I'll jump back in. But right now, I just want to do the opposite. He talked about his style of comedy. I need you to be able to trust that when your kids are in the car, you can play my album and you're not having to think, let me make sure there's nothing I don't want to have a conversation about right now. There's a trust. Interesting quote from Mark Maron in the Esquire article. Maron says, Nate's coming at a time when comedy in some ways is in trouble. You have these very tribalized camps of comedy, the anti-woke crew bravely speaking power to truth, and he sort of transcends that. I don't know what to make of that. Comedy is not in trouble right now, unless Maron's coming at that from an art form and buying into this thought that Manosphere Rogan bros have taken over comedy. I mean, comedy goes in waves and there are different styles, and I'm looking at who the streamers are putting on. They're not putting on the Man Brosphere stuff, but the Man Brosphere stuff is selling tickets. I think there is plenty of comedy to go around right now, so I'm not sure what Maron's getting at there. You have these very tribalized camps of comedy, the anti-woke crew bravely speaking power to truth, and he sort of transcends that. Okay. Nate jokes about hosting the Emmys. Quoting Nate, why did they pick me to do it? Well, the election probably helped. It got Hollywood executives asking, who doesn't live in L.A. and who's available? Back to Maron, who comments on that and says he's bigger than what's going on socially because of his talent and his point of view and the way he does comedy, which is truly unique. He would have been a big star no matter where the culture is. I don't know what to make of any of that. I have shared the entire article in the Facebook group, which is Daily Comedy News Podcast Group.